Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called What if Nordic Countries United? So I wondered this myself a bunch of times because it's like, well, if they are like global superpowers, can they be considered superpowers? Yes. But there's like very, all those countries, all those Nordic countries, you're constantly hearing them like, oh, they have like a great quality of life. They have like a lot of money. They have like, they look like if like the world were a family, I think they would be like, I don't know, the older sibling that has like their whole life figured out. So it's like, oh, well, how come they wouldn't they want to unite and like make it like even more powerful? Our if we like make it a whole sort of like kingdom, like we shouldn't be better. I know that at some point in history they did, but I'm wondering like I constantly wonder how come they don't do this like again in this modern era. Maybe hopefully we're gonna know the reasons. So let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
The Nordic countries are often regarded as being some of the best countries in the world.
Correct.
In terms of human development, living standards, and economy strength.
Everything.
This region comprises of 5 sovereign states: Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. There are also autonomous regions and territories such as the Faroe Islands and Greenland, which both belong to the Kingdom of Denmark. These 5 nations have a combined population of 27.5 million. The Nordic countries.
It's crazy like how small of a population it is. It's like, oh my god, that's tiny. Less than 30 million people.
Are rather sparsely populated. If we were to combine them, they would have a population density of around 7.6 people per kilometer squared, which would make them one of the least densely populated countries on Earth. The combined GDP or economy size of this region would be a very impressive 1.8 trillion US dollars, which would place them in the top 10 in the world, giving them a similar economy size to that of South Korea, and in fact more than Russia, a country with a population over 5 times larger.
Yes.
The GDP per capita of this country would be close to 67,000 US dollars, which would rank them 15th in the world. Which is extremely impressive, as most of the countries at the top of this list are small, extremely wealthy nations like Monaco.
Extremely richer countries, and they can do this because I think they're small. That's the key.
Hong Kong, and Liechtenstein. Area size of this country would be around 3.4 million kilometers squared, which would make it the 7th biggest country on Earth, placing them above India and below Australia. And quite a...
It's kind of crazy to think of like, obviously you know, like, oh, they're big, but if they united, they would be huge, which is like, okay, that's kind of surprising to me, shocking.
Bit below Australia too, at roughly half the size. So far, very impressive from the Nordic people. If they were a single country, they will be competing with the big boys on the world stage. And again, for a population...
Aren't they already competing with the big boys on the stage?
...of less than Delhi. This is admirable. Now, this next section, believe it or not, is even more impressive. Let's take a look at how each of these countries rank in quality of life statistics. So first things first, in the Human Development Index, all 5 nations rank in the top 11, with Norway actually taking the crown for the most developed nation on Earth. Combined, they would place...
On Earth?
Around 7th in the world. For the Corruption Index, Denmark takes the crown as the least corrupt nation in the world. Combined, they would rank about 6th in the world, with only Iceland letting them down. For the Fragile State Index, Finland, Norway, and Iceland rank as 1st, 2nd, and 3rd respectively.
That's crazy.
Denmark ranks as 5th, and Sweden 8th. For economic freedom, they would rank around the 17th mark. For global economy competitiveness, they would rank about 14th. For environmental performance, around 9th, in which Denmark places 1st in the world. In the good country ranking, they would place around 9th, with Finland securing that 1st place spot. The global gender gap places them 5th in the world, most notably Iceland, Finland, and Norway ranking 1st, 2nd, and 3rd respectively.
Everything's like so impressive.
Denmark lets the team down here, placing in 28th place. The world.
Okay, that's actually quite low from the standard.
Mothers Report, which analyzes countries based on the health of mothers and their children, they would rank 4th, with Finland taking yet another top spot crown.
Wow.
And finally, one of the most important rankings when it comes to determining the quality of life of citizens is the World Happiness Ranking. Quite simply, the more developed, safe and prosperous a country is, the happier the people will be. For this, the combined Nordic nations would rank 4th in the world, with Finland and Denmark being the happiest and second happiest nations respectively. When it comes to military personnel,
who knows, there's like happy people everywhere.
There is one country who would be pulling its weight far more than other nations: Finland. The Nordic countries have a combined military size of 1.1 million personnel, 900,000 of which would come from Finland. Iceland would give
Finland is like the one like leading the charge here, like in so many of these rankings.
By far the least, as Iceland has no official military force.
Oh my god, I love this.
They are said to have just 130 personnel. However, Iceland...
I think it's like because they're a tiny country, it's like there's no people that actually want to go in the military. But also, that's a good thing actually. We should like be more peaceful in general.
Iceland is still part of NATO. Although it has no troops to offer, it has very valuable airspace, which would seriously aid NATO if war did break out across the planet.
Hopefully,
okay, so enough.
Hopefully it will never come to that.
Stats for now. We can clearly see these nations are all extremely successful, and if they were to merge together, they would be an economical powerhouse.
Correct.
All whilst offering their citizens some of the highest living standards in the world. But how on earth have they achieved this? Well, there is something called the Nordic model, but what exactly is it? The Nordic model is a term used to capture the unique combination of free market capitalism and social benefits that have given rise to a society that enjoys large amounts of top quality services, such as free education and healthcare.
I feel like this is the model that everyone should follow, although I know that it just like, it worked there and it's not easy to replicate, but it's like in theory, it's like everyone should do this.
These benefits are funded by the citizens of these countries, aka the taxpayers, and these citizens have a high degree of trust in their government, which allows them to work,
which I think is the hardest thing to achieve actually,
together to reach compromises and address societal challenges through democratic processes. To put it simply, these countries have some of the highest tax rates in the world. In return, social programs are of extreme high quality. Those who don't earn a lot can still live a good life through social programs.
It's good.
And those who earn a lot will usually have a pretty good life anyway. Whether you agree...
And it's good because everyone benefits from this. It's not like, oh, they're like munching on me. Like, no, it's a good thing.
Agree with this economic strategy is another thing. But objectively, these are some of the best countries in the world to live in terms of quality of life. Now, of course, this strategy is not perfect. There are flaws in this model, which these countries are now starting to experience.
Such as what?
Two of the biggest concerns are an aging population and an influx of immigrants. In terms of an aging population, a large base of young taxpayers and a small population of older residents receiving services is the ideal scenario. However, as the population balance shifts the other way, benefit reductions are a likely outcome. In terms of immigration, these countries are...
Oh, okay, yeah, because you have like you have older people and more older people from a certain age that are living, and younger people are like fewer. Is that the case? Of course, and the older people are not actually like living because they're retired. Not that they're living, but they're not working because they're retired. Makes sense. I think Europe like has this problem in general.
Attract a notable influx of newcomers seeking to enjoy the generous public benefits. Imagine you are from...
Hold on. Can you like, if you're an immigrant, if you're not like legally residing here, can you actually like receive like the benefits? I didn't know that. I thought you had to be like an actual taxpayer.
A developing nation that has been part of a decades-long civil war. Your education will likely have been severely hindered and you will most likely be very poor. Now imagine moving to a well-developed nation like one of the Nordic countries, which is extremely expensive, and not only that, you don't speak a single word of their language.
Okay.
The chances of securing a high-paying job to feed your children is very unlikely. Meaning many of these immigrants will have to survive purely on the social programs offered by the government, which in terms of economic progress isn't ideal. If the Nordic countries did combine...
I thought they had some sort of like program that helps like immigrants. I would do that, right? That makes sense.
To become one...
Help immigrants as in like helping them adapt to this new place and helping them apparently like get an education or something. But I didn't know that they had like access to all of this without like not being an actual taxpayer.
Super country They would claim some very strategically important territories, land, air and sea. They would dominate parts of the North Sea, the Norwegian Sea, the Denmark Strait and North Atlantic Ocean, all the way up to the Arctic Ocean. Iceland and Greenland's territorial claim would combine together to create the perfect choke point in the North Atlantic, an invaluable asset to have if a world war was to break out. The new
hopefully it never comes to that.
Created union would have rich oil and gas fields. 30% of all
it's true, they have so much oil as well.
In all of Europe, 50% of all the forest resources in Europe, and 20% of all fresh water in Europe. It would be a true northern powerhouse.
Yes.
Now here's an interesting question. If this Nordic union was to happen, where would its capital city be? The candidates would certainly be 3 existing capitals.
Of course,
in my mind, it would be Oslo, Stockholm, or Copenhagen. Helsinki is far too east and close to Russia, and Reykjavik is far too west and largely inaccessible. Copenhagen makes sense as it's just a stone's throw away from Sweden, although with Sweden being the biggest country of all these nations, perhaps they would want the capital to be within their borders. In this case,
I think Copenhagen is good because also like it makes access, I think, easier into all places. I'm thinking of like flights and stuff. I'm thinking of like things that's if it were reality.
It could be Gothenburg or Stockholm. Let us know in the comments which Nordic city you think would make the best capital city. Another interesting question is, what would the official language be of this union? These Scandinavian languages are very similar to each other already, so there are a few options for a common language. The main ones being English, due to the fact that most people, especially the younger population, speak English fluently across.
Yes, but I don't think like that should be a good thing. Like, of course, it's like because that's a second language, but each one like they should have like their own language that honors their traditions and history and cultural baggage.
The Nordic countries. Swedish, as it is the most widely spoken Nordic language, or a pan-Nordic language, which would require learning and would take a long time to formulate.
Oh my god, but I love it! Like if I were like our president, I would do that.
My opinion, I believe English would be the best bet. Denmark, Norway, Sweden and Finland all scored in the top 10 for the 2021 English Proficiency Index.
I don't like the idea of them having like as an official language English. I think like as a second language good, but they should have like a pan-Scandinavian language that actually honors them.
English is also the most widely spoken language in the world and considered the language of business. This would give the region an
But they already have this, so like it makes sense to me. Like it's just the given. Everyone speaks English.
Economic advantage. If it were to choose the current most spoken language in the region, Swedish, this would not give them any economic advantage, as not many people outside of Sweden actually speak Swedish. The only benefit is that it would preserve the Nordic identity.
Exactly.
So how successful do you think a united Nordic region will be? Let us know in the comments, and as well, which city you think should be its capital. Thank you for watching this video, and as always, drop a like if you enjoyed it, dislike it if you didn't enjoy it, and subscribe if you haven't already. It's completely free, and you can always unsubscribe at any time. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you very soon in the next video.
This is gorgeous. What is this? Okay, so I think like I love the idea of having like a pan-Scandinavian language that actually encapsulates and helps preserve like Nordic identity. That would be my absolute vote. I do not feel it doesn't sit right with my spirit to have them like in this hypothetical situation to make them like official language English. It's like no, everyone will speak English anyways. So like who cares? But you have to make people and kids actually. I'm talking about like kids because they're going to be like the ones who are going to grow up like later on. Speak like this pan-Scandinavian language to preserve like the identity, especially if you're sort of like uniting all these countries. I think that should be like very important. Otherwise, I think you could just easily get lost in the shuffle. And I get like yes, it doesn't have like any other advantages, but I think it's important if you're making the case of like you're making like this whole United Kingdom of Nordic, the Nordic Kingdom, the whatever name you put this, like they have to preserve the actual traditions or some of them, because it's not just about like being this incredible powerhouse and this we're conquering the world. Yes, of course, great for you, amazing, but also like you should preserve like your traditions as well. because otherwise, like, it would make me so incredibly sad, because then it gets to the point of, like, I don't know, it would be the equivalent of, like, a selling out. It's like, oh, they sold out. It's like, no, they have to be, like, more traditional in that sense. So I would definitely that would have my vote. As in, like, the capital, I think I do not know enough about, like, how, like, of Nordic and Scandinavian sort of, like, placement of the cities. I do like Copenhagen just because it's true, like, it's sort of like the middle ground. It's easier to access from mainland Europe. Yes, although again, it's like there's also Europe, but it's I think it's easier to access from there, you know, if you're coming from the south, but also if you're coming from the north. Like, I think it should be good, you know. So I think it's sort of like centrical in a way, because again, like, the Reykjavik, like, thing, it's in Iceland, it's in the middle of nowhere. No offense, but no, that doesn't make that's not feasible. And I think also, like, Helsinki maybe, but again, it's like way too high, like way too up north. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's gonna be like, no, the flights and stuff, I think would be a little bit of a nightmare. So even maybe, I think maybe not Copenhagen, but maybe some other place in Denmark, maybe I think could make the case. I'm like, yes, I love this idea. I'm like, I vote yes, you know. I'm like, yes, you guys should definitely do this and make the great united Nordic kingdom. Again, I don't know, like, how feasible it is, you know. We can, like, it's all fun and games, you know, but I think, like, we should ask them, like, actual Nordics, if they do you agree with this? Like, would you like this in the future? They're the ones that have to make, like, the decision. I do not know, like, I would say, maybe, I don't know, like, what would I think there's, like, more advantages and also disadvantages. So I would think I would vote yes. Like, again, maybe I'm not that informed as in the actual sort of, like, the reality of the matter. So maybe I'm just, like, spinning widely. But I, like, if I were, like, from one of these countries, I would vote yes, absolutely. Let's unite, because I think it's gonna be better, like, long term. Like, we're gonna be so incredible, like, a global, like, superpower, which I think we already are. So we're just gonna, we're gonna join our forces. So I think that would be incredible. But again, I don't know how feasible it is, or if people actually want this. Maybe, I think, again, I think you can make it, again, like the United Kingdom. If each country gets their own sort of, like, separate and autonomy, but they are one single thing. So that's why I kind of liken this to, like, the UK, which is, like, it composes, like, several countries, but, you know, they're all one United Kingdom under one person. Although, I come to think about this, that makes me think, I know that Sweden has a king. I think Norway also has a king, maybe. Yes, I think they also have a king. I think Denmark as well. They are all monarchies. Now, come to think about this, so I think that would make it a little bit harder, because how would you decide, like, who's the kingdom, who's the king or queen of, like, the Nordic area? That would, I think, make it hard, you know, to, like, I'm thinking again hypothetically as in, like, a way of, like, to solve this without a war, like, because we're not, like, in the 1700s anymore, and we're not fighting, like, monarchies, and kings are not fighting with each other. So I think, you know, you would have to abolish the monarchy, or maybe everyone, because just as the case, like, the sort of, like, we have the King of England, but he's just, like, the king of all the other places, although I know that some of them are not, like, that happy about this. But it's not like they have, like, a King of Scotland, although I know, or a King of Ireland, although I know that there's been some cases of, like, people vouching for, we want our own king, because they have their own thing. So maybe I think that would create such a, like, historical nightmare, because again, I don't know enough, but I know that clearly they have their own history. So it's like, it would be a nightmare to actually, like, to decide who would be king of this. Maybe I don't know, maybe one of them, like, gets their own, like, no, each kingdom has its own, like, I don't know, like, like, you're a duke, so maybe it's like a duke, or the equivalent of a duke over there, and nobody's actually king, or maybe they just, like, decide who's king. Maybe they switch places every 4 years, like a president. It's like, well, you're the king in this 4 years, and then it's the other. I don't know. Obviously, this is a joke, but I don't know. I love the idea. I think in theory, like, I think it sounds incredible. I don't know how feasible it is. Also for, like, the people and the economical sort of, like, situation. Also, like, you have to figure out so many things. Actually, like, I think yes, there's, like, so many things that you would have to figure it out. That would be a nightmare. It would take you, like, years to actually make this a reality. It would probably take me, like, 30 years or more to make this the United Nordic Kingdom, I don't know, a reality. But I would love it. I would love it if in my time this happened. Only if they want to. But I think, like, from an outsider's perspective, I think this looks incredible, and I'm like, yes, you should definitely do this, because I think it looks cool, it looks incredible, and you guys would rule the world. But that's just my opinion. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.